Here we are.
Hello.
Now we are truly live.
In the most beautiful setting.
We really are. We're in Santa Barbara, California. I have never been to Santa Barbara before.
What?
This is my first time. But anything, and I looked on the map, obviously, before I came here, and anything close to an ocean makes me very happy.
Did you dive in?
I did not.
Not yet?
I touched the water this morning. Honestly, the thing that kind of held me back was there's little wipies in the bathroom at the hotel that are for taking oil off of your skin from the water. And I went for a walk this morning on the beach, and I saw there's some offshore drilling going on there. So I put my hands in the water. There was 3 little wipies, and I was like, I don't think there's going to be enough.
Instruction on it. It's like to
Yeah,
get
it literally is to get the oil off, which is sad.
Yeah,
It's really sad.
Beautiful ocean.
I am.
Okay, do you want to tell us? I mean, you
Yes.
guys know why we're here today. We have a couple different streaming things going on, but tell us why we're here today.
First of all, thank you for doing this with me.
Oh, of course.
To everybody watching, we are live on Instagram, we are live on YouTube, X, and Facebook, and Rumble. So to everybody joining us, thank you for taking time. I'm so grateful that Jessica, we met in Hawaii a little over a month ago, I think it was early March.
Hard to keep track of time, but
It is hard to keep track.
Yeah, we had fun.
We had a great time, and I'm just
so. Your hometown. We met in your
absolutely.
hometown, so we got to. She gave us food recommendations, a little history about the town. What's the town called?
Haleiwa.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
Yeah, historic Haleiwa town. But I'm thankful. I asked if you would do this with me. This is my first book. It's called For Love of Country. This premier live book signing. I'll be signing these books while we're chatting here. You can order your signed copy at tulsigabbard.com or at the link that you see on your screen, premiercollectibles.com/Tulsi. I wrote this book because over the last 20 years of being a Democrat, I decided to leave the Democratic Party. It's become the number one question that I'm asked. Why did you leave the Democratic Party? And so I wrote this book really to talk about the experiences that I've had from joining the Democratic Party when I'm 21 years old in Hawaii, what that party represented and looked like back at that time, and then fast forwarding to where we are today, where today's Democratic Party is not at all recognizable from the party I joined. Throughout that period of time, I've served on 3 deployments to different war zones in the world. I still serve in the Army Reserve today as a lieutenant colonel. I served in Congress for 8 years on the Armed Services and Foreign Affairs committees. I served as vice chair of the DNC, and I ran for president as a Democrat in 2020. It has been an eye-opening experience, and I go into detail in this book about those experiences that really led to the many reasons why I left the Democratic Party.
And I feel like you are an amplified version of what so many of us are feeling. I was raised a Democrat my whole life. It was a big part of my identity as well. So when I found out who you were in 2020, I had a friend. We were kind of fighting about politics, and he's like, well, you were still a Democrat then.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, the one Democrat I would vote for is Tulsi Gabbard. And I was like, who is this?
Mm-hmm.
And so I started reading up on you, and I felt like there was somebody voicing my frustrations. So do you get that a lot? Do you feel like you're speaking for a growing sort of disconnect within the party?
It's true. When I made that announcement that I was leaving the Democratic Party, I was really, I knew what to expect from a lot of the people that I had worked with in Washington in the Democratic Party, because they don't take kindly to people who challenge their authority, who question the decisions that they're making. So I've gotten all of the, the smack talking and the attempts to cancel and smear and name calling. I've gotten all that. So I knew what to expect from those people, but I didn't know what to expect from others. And it was very encouraging to me to hear from people, some people who I knew very well, others who, sending me DMs on Twitter or Instagram, or sending me notes, sending me emails, just expressing how grateful it was to see someone bringing voice to things that they were feeling, the frustrations that they had with the direction of the Democratic Party, and how it's just completely, to put it nicely, lost its way. But to put it very directly, is a party of the elite now who are abusing their power, and at the cost of our freedom and at the cost of the well-being of the American people.
Yes, I feel like you're putting into words what so many of us are feeling. And we're going to get to, I think a lot of you guys on Premier Live Signing submitted questions. I have them all here. Let's see what
let me just tell you, I mean, Jessica's awesome. What's the, I've been curious, I never asked you, what's the genesis behind the name of your account, House and Habit?
Oh, okay. I know it's a little confusing, huh? Well, it's because when I started out, I was a lifestyle blogger, and I was writing about, family life, and I was going to be an English teacher. I was an English teacher, and then I got pregnant and had kids back to back. So House and Habit was reflective of being a stay-at-home mother, kind of locked into routine. And I was just writing to keep up, as an outlet, because I always loved it. And over the years, it's kind of just transformed into different things. It went from motherhood to pop culture, and then just recently politics, which is crazy to see how popular the political term.
Yeah.
I was expecting, that I was going to turn everybody off. Nobody wants to read about politics. Everybody fights, and it's like a very sort of vicious. I just didn't expect that people would care, and so it's been incredibly inspiring to see how people are responding to sort of a positive spin on politicians and politics in general. And I think it's so exciting to see people who would normally not care about it be involved and start understanding and be engaged, learning about different people. Like, I'm learning in real time about you, about all the candidates. So I've been very lucky to sort of gain this intimate access into Kennedy's campaign and Trump's campaign. And
this is what's cool. And we were talking about this before we went live a little bit, about how people who may follow what I'm doing or the content that I'm putting out on my different accounts are people generally who are drawn because of politics.
Yes.
Whereas yours is kind of the opposite.
Crowd, yeah.
And that's what makes, I think, our little collaboration here so special, is because in real time, when you look at the divisiveness in our country and you look at how polarized things unfortunately become, people get stuck in their little circles. And so it's important to
judgment.
Exactly.
When we were together in Hawaii, you said something. We didn't really talk politics when we were together, but you did mention something that stuck with me, because it's what I learned too. You said that we need to stop sort of degrading the Trump supporters, because that's become a very easy go-to. And when I was on the other side, I was super liberal. I was guilty of it too. I just operated on pure judgment and assumptions, and I didn't know who these people were. And so it really took me sort of coming face to face with people, voters, everyday Americans, and asking them, and at the end of the day, it's really, a lot of these people are just about, they have a faith in God.
Yeah.
They love their country, super patriotic. And so it was very humbling for me to realize that I was wrong about so much, But I'm so curious. Okay, nobody asked this question, so I'm going to ask it for you guys. I want to know about your upbringing. Were you guys a political family?
We weren't a political family per se. There's 5 kids in our family. Okay. My parents are, they're teachers by trade and training. They're entrepreneurs at heart, and they homeschooled us. They raised us to be independent-minded people, critical thinkers. Instilling in us basic values and principles centered around God and service. And if you see a problem, don't just complain about it and wait for somebody else to take action. You figure out, how can you be a part of the solution? And it was what I experienced from a young age, that I found that I was happiest when I was doing things for other people. And so I knew that I wanted to dedicate my life in service. Had no idea what direction that would take. Certainly never in a million years thought it would be in the realm of politics.
But is that why you got into the service in the first place?
9/11 is what drove me to enlist in the military, like a lot of people. And it was because of those experiences on those deployments that made me want to run for Congress. I never did, and I still don't think about politics as a quote unquote career at all. Because
you don't feel like that's part of your identity.
It's not at all. There are so many ways that all of us can be of service and have a positive impact. You are in what you're doing. It has taken this path that I've chosen has taken me into political office, it's taken me out of it. Through the military, I started a nonprofit, an environmental nonprofit, when I was a teenager. There are so many. I was. I'm not gonna lie.
All of your brothers and sisters like this?
My sister, yeah, probably, and get me in trouble. Some more than others. I'll just put it that way. Some more than others. We're all unique and different.
I had an inner drive.
Yes, from a very young age. My sister and I, there's 5 years between me and my closest older brother, and so my sister and I are 2.5 years apart. We naturally we are very close, but we were both very strong self-starters, loved school, loved learning. So it was not too difficult for my parents to homeschool us, but it's something that we both carried through. She chose the path of service through law enforcement.
Oh, wow.
And mine has taken me in a lot of different directions.
So you feel like you're always wanting to learn, even now?
Always.
Yeah,
let's go to the. I'm really curious, because I think.
What's your favorite? We have to ask. This is Denise's question. Before we get to all of these, what is your favorite? What's your go-to album on repeat or song on? What is something you never pick up?
It depends. It depends on what I'm doing and my mood. If I'm going to the gym for a good workout,
you've seen those.
It'll either be a good podcast, or it is like the AC/DC channel on Spotify.
Okay.
I like all different kinds of music. I usually start my day with yoga, meditation music, prayer music. I will listen to Hawaiian music, country music, and Hawaiian music is very similar,
really?
Which I didn't realize as a kid growing up listening to Hawaiian music. And then when I joined the military, I started to get exposed to a lot more country music. They are very, very similar, actually. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Joseph wants to know, was there a specific moment in which you began to realize that the Democratic Party was no longer in line with your views and your beliefs?
That's a hard one. It's a hard one because I feel like over the time I was in Congress from early 2013 until last day was January 3rd of 2021. And it's been a slow build of I don't know if build is the right word, but it's been a downward spiral, put it that way. Slowly at first, and then radically escalating over these last, I don't know, I would say these last 6 years, probably. A lot of the big turning points happened around, started in 2020. Started under the Biden administration, and where, you saw blatant abuse of power, blatant undermining of freedoms, all the way from the White House down to the local level. You saw people around COVID being silenced for saying simple things like, hey, you should take vitamin D supplements because most people are deficient. Like, these are facts.
Well, they were censoring. Remember, they censored, you could not hashtag natural immunity.
Exactly. I remember that.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things. There were a lot of contributing factors, but but it started before I left Congress. This whole And I've got a chapter in my book that talks about this trans ideology in our schools and how it's impacting our kids and impacting teachers and families. There was legislation I introduced before I left Congress called the Protect Our Women's Sports Act. And things have gone from what I saw was already beginning while I was in Congress to just like radical escalation. And it's forcing people who otherwise wouldn't necessarily be involved with politics, and maybe that's some of you at home, to be confronted with how these decisions that are being made at the national level are actually directly impacting your child at school,
Yes.
or your home, or your family, or your community, with rampant crime in places across the country. So these are the things that I hope that I talk about in my book, that I hope we can find common cause around as Americans, knowing that these are very real problems and we have to come together to solve them.
Okay. I agree. Thank you. Who was that? Joseph.
Joseph. Thank you, Joseph.
I hope she answered it to your liking. Let's see. Here's a good one. Please expand on the government overreach on the J6 detainers and weaponization of the DOJ and the FBI. Best wishes from Mark.
Mark, great question, Mark. Gosh, there are so many different examples. I'll give you one of mine. I was when I'm home in Hawaii, we live very close to the Marine Corps base there, and that's usually the gym that my husband and I go and work out at. And so we were there one morning, and this Samoan guy and his son was probably 14 years old. They came up, and I had met them maybe a year prior. Said, "Hi, how's it going?" And the conversation turned towards him telling me that the FBI had gone and knocked on his door in rural Hawaii on the island that we live on Oahu, because he and his son were out there on the lawn of the Capitol on January 6th. So as with all of the people, and we know this now, the kind of surveillance and the collection that they are taking to figure out who flew in and out of Washington during that period of time, going back and looking at those flight records, who was checked into various hotels, whose cell phone signals were found in the area during that period of time. And mind you, this is happening to American citizens for what? For showing up to an event where there were, tens of thousands of people.
There was a lot going on. There was speeches planned.
All kinds of things going
people
on.
Showed up for 100 different reasons.
And people being, they went and they questioned him. They didn't arrest him. And
But they found him.
They found him at his house with his 14-year-old son. I raised the point to him. I was like, well, you are a Polynesian brown-skinned man. Perhaps you didn't fit the stereotype of, this guy's obviously a white supremacist.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the insanity of the overt, brazen political targeting of people who are supporters of Trump, people who are labeled as the MAGA Republicans, people who President Biden has said, these are domestic extremists who pose the greatest threat to our democracy. That's the danger of the situation that we are in, and people being put in prison, not because they actually broke a law or they threatened the safety of others.
There was no
Exactly. Just for being there. And I guess a lot of them are veterans.
Yes.
A lot of them are people who've put their lives on the line for our country and are concerned about the future of our country and went there to exercise their First Amendment rights. And those very people are being the subjects of political persecution right now.
And there's no media covering it. They're not telling any of these stories.
No.
So it just gets lumped together as like these violent insurrections.
Exactly.
I just talked to a woman. She's 70 years old. She's known as the praying grandma.
Okay.
She went there. She felt called to go to the Capitol that day to pray for President Trump and also to see some of these, speeches. And there was no violence involved. Same thing. They found her on a little clip and they tracked her down and she was just sentenced, I think, 2 years in prison.
Wow.
For praying. I mean, there was like no violence.
Wow.
She was inside for 3 minutes. It's just. But I asked her, was there any media at your trial? And she said no.
Yeah.
It's just the stories are not getting told.
Don't mind the airplane.
Okay.
The other thing, just to close that out, is people like her who are getting arrested for entering the Capitol that day, nonviolent. The United States Capitol is often referred to by members of Congress as the People's House. So why are the people being prosecuted, actually prosecuted for entering the People's House?
Right. And that's also just a very fair, it's a very fair question.
Right.
Yes. Okay, let's see. Oh, here's a good one. What did we already do? What's your skincare routine?
No.
Okay. Oh.
I'm quite impressed that somebody's asking.
I know that it includes bowls of ice. Go ahead.
Yeah, you do.
I tried it.
Yeah, I forget what instigated that, but
everything she does is extreme. Face in a bowl of ice.
That's fair. I rarely do things halfway.
I don't think it's a certain skincare product you guys are gonna get, but go ahead.
No, I was a tomboy growing up. That probably shocks you.
I was like,
yeah.
Really?
Yes, breaking news. I was a tomboy.
You heard it here first.
I grew up doing martial arts and just all the things, and I had 3 older brothers, so I didn't have any older sisters to teach me like, this is how you take care of your skin. Our mom is stunningly beautiful, and like her idea of getting quote unquote made up or dressed up was putting on lip gloss.
Oh.
And so, I didn't learn about skincare and why it's important until much later in life from some of my friends. I think it's just the basics of, wash your face, the toner, and the moisturizer. I have a friend who's an esthetician in New York. She's been, her name's Joanna Check. She is phenomenal, and she's taught me a lot. So shout out to Joanna.
Okay, but tell them about your frozen.
Oh, so yes, the ice. So we live in a very small house in Hawaii, and we don't have, so we don't have like the ice bath and the sauna. And I'm not going to go to 7-Eleven, buy 3 bags of ice every day to do the ice bath. So I probably saw on Instagram a video of someone saying that the next best thing to an ice bath is to dunk your face in ice multiple times. It's good for your skin. It's good for, anyway, I don't remember all the things it's good for, but it's good for you.
3 minutes. You had very specific instructions.
Yeah, I probably made those up. You made Denise. You tried them, Denise.
No,
That's the one I saw.
Okay, but my family tried it, and Denise, she was a trooper.
Yeah.
And it was rough.
Yeah.
And they said it hurt. Even
it does
my
hurt.
husband tried it.
It does hurt.
It's painful.
Yeah, I try to do it when I have access to a bowl of ice and water, like 10 dunks, and I try to count 10 dunks up to like however long, like 30 seconds. I try to hold it. I try to hold it for as long as I can.
After this, we're gonna film you doing that. We're gonna send it.
All right, deal. Denise is like, no thanks. Been there, done that.
Oh my gosh. Okay, let's see.
We only got about 7 minutes left,
7
I think.
minutes, okay.
Time is going by fast.
I know, okay, let's see.
If you guys haven't gotten your pre-orders in yet, you can see the link on your screen, premiercollectibles.com/Tulsi, or you can go to tulsigabbard.com.
This is a good one. Let's see. Brian wants to know, who was your biggest inspiration growing up, and how did that person shape you into the person you have become?
Oh, that is a good one. My parents are my first inspiration. They've been married for 55 years. They just celebrated their 55th anniversary, and just embody love. They embody love in all that they do. They have not only embodied that in the way that they've raised us, but in Hawaii, there's a term that we often use is called hanai, which is kind of like family, but not by blood. And so we have many hanai brothers and sisters who, came and lived with us for different periods of time, who are in difficult spots, facing challenges in their life. And my parents have been parents to a lot of people, and I just have the utmost respect for them. I worked for one of our U.S. senators from Hawaii, Senator Akaka, who embodied the aloha spirit. He treated people that he worked with in the Senate with respect. I still, to this day, I was on Newt Gingrich's podcast not long ago, who worked with Senator Akaka, and he brought him up and just reminisced about his kindness and how he never had a bad word to say about anyone. A World War II veteran who loved his country and loved the people of Hawaii. He was a great inspiration to me.
Okay, this is about the book.
All right.
Which chapter of your book, this is Shannon, which chapter of your book was the easiest to write and which chapter was the hardest? Let me see what chapters are in here.
You know, I think
8.
Both of them were probably, I think there's the chapter about war. What chapter is that? Chapter 5. Chapter 5, the elitist cabal of warmongers. It was the easiest to write, very direct, as I am. It was the easiest chapter to write in the sense that it is, and it was emotional for me. I cried as I was writing different sections of that chapter because of the experiences that I've had at war. It was also the hardest to write because it forced me to relive a lot of painful memories, but that are important memories of people who never came home with us, people who paid the ultimate price in service to our country. And it is in their honor that I focus on that chapter to point out the problems we still face and how we solve those problems and honor their sacrifice.
Okay. How many questions do you think we have time for?
How are we on time? We're probably at the 3-minute mark.
You guys, we need like 3 hours.
I know,
right?
this is way too short. I think we're gonna just have to do this again, probably.
Yeah, we should. Oops, I just got disabled. But okay. One of the questions was, why does Hawaii always vote Democrat? Do you think that's...
Yeah, no, it's a good question.
Is that a good question?
It's a good question. People and Democrats in Hawaii are not like Democrats of New York City or Democrats of LA or San Francisco. There are the history, and I'll be brief, but the reason why Hawaii is such a strong Democratic state is because back in the day when it was under Republican rule, working people were not treated well. Plantation workers were not treated well. They were working and living in abysmal conditions. And the Democratic Party and the ILWU union, they came in and fought for the little guy. And that was the roots of the Democratic Party in Hawaii. Democrats in Hawaii tend to be more moderate or even conservative, but generally have a mindset of like, hey, we should respect everyone's individual choices. You live your life, I will live my life. And we're good. Unfortunately, there's a lot of change and a lot of leadership that's needed in Hawaii to solve the many problems that exist there. Very high cost of living. The education system is in dire need of serious reform. There are a lot of challenges that need to be addressed. I hope that in time they will be.
That's probably its own whole.
It is. That's I'm trying to be brief here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, last question could be, who would you say this book is for?
This book, so if you're watching or you're listening, if you follow either of our channels, you probably recognize both of us. Yeah. You probably recognize the problems in the country that we often point out and talk about. So this book is for you to have the facts and details to maybe have conversations to convince other people that they too should wake up to the reality that we all face and do something about it. If you have a family member who is maybe a Democrat who's not quite sure where they belong in our politics today, I had a guy who said, "Hey, Tulsi, I gotta give this book to my kid because they won't listen to me, but I hope they'll listen to you." This is a book for everyone who loves and cherishes peace and freedom in our country. So I hope you check it out.
You guys better buy it.
It's also available on Audible if you're an audiobook kind of person. I narrated it I narrated it I narrated it myself.
And when is that available?
That will be available April 30th as well.
Because you have a good book voice.
Thank you.
Yeah. I feel like
that's what my husband says.
You could just be reading other people's biographies.
I've suggested that to him.
I'll send you a list.
Have a backup.
My suggestions. Anyway, okay, well, are we out of time? Do you
We're
want to
probably
show them
almost there.
Show them the shoes you're wearing?
Well, the shoes I took off. I'll show you the shoes I took off.
She's barefoot. I didn't know we could
I
be
am.
barefoot.
I know. I'm hiding my feet behind this thing.
Where are you next?
I am.
You're all over the country. So
I am flying to Dallas, Fort Worth tomorrow. I will be speaking at an AFPI event there tomorrow. And then we will have book events coming up in North Carolina and in Miami. Patrick Bet-David's podcast. I will be on that podcast on April 25th. If you are in that part of the country and you haven't bought your ticket yet, you should come and see me. Patrick Bet-David's podcast event. It'll be live. We'll do some book signing there. We'll have a great conversation on April 25th. Here's the awkward part. We're expecting this to be done. We were told this is going to get cut off.
Dance now.
No dancing.
Hey, this is John Acuff, New York Times best-selling author of 7 books and someone who's done a live signing. If you like the one you just watched, make sure you check out our YouTube channel. It's full of amazing authors having great conversations and signing books for viewers just like you. So make sure you subscribe, and thanks for watching today.